Hi guys, in the last video, or one of the last ones, we started this little 5.5 Johnson, fired it up and it seems to run decently. I hadn't done anything to it, so in this video I'd like to get the bottom end off here and get the water pump checked, make sure it looks okay, and maybe do a pressure test on the gearbox so we see what the oil is doing in there. So we'll get to work and see if we can rip this thing apart. Take this prop off and see if we can check out the seal, make sure there isn't some fishing line twisted up in it. Look at that, a nice little rubber cap, 60 years old and still flexible and not cracked. Pin. Oh yeah, a little bit of fishing line. Drain the oil out of this gear case. It's black, but there's no water. That's a good sign. That's awesome, and even just that there is some oil in there, nobody ran it dry. So in order to get the bottom end off this, we have to pull the power head off. So we're going to get this cowling off. Disconnect this throttle linkage. And the screws underneath that hold it on. and lift off the power head. Like that. So there's a little seal that should be placed on the top of the motor shaft. And then there's a double nut on the top of the shift rod, and that's what's got to come off before we get the bottom end to slide out. If I can do this with a socket, looks like it. Now we can go ahead and pull this all the way out. There's our water pump. We'll get the screws off of that and have a look, see what it's like. So now we can take these 4 screws out of the top of the water pump. There we go. Well, it actually doesn't look too bad for, well, who knows if it's been replaced a couple of times, but at least it hasn't come apart and got all shredded. So I had a little better look at the impeller and some of the other parts on this bottom end, and I think I'm just going to use the same impeller again. Probably if I was fishing with this thing every day, or it was going to be my main motor, it would definitely be worth changing while I got it apart. But this thing's mostly for display, and I might fire it up once in a while just for fun. And I had a look at the impeller, and it's in really good shape. I mean, it is curved from being in that position all the time, but it's flexible. There's no cracks in it. And it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's fully functional. So I'm going to use it again, and the plate, the wear plate, is nice and smooth. It's shiny, but there's no grooves worn in it or anything. And same with the housing. It's really in perfect shape. So I'm just going to use that stuff again, put it back together. And the seals in the bottom end, we could test them, but there's no water in the oil, and really that's the main thing as far as I'm concerned, is keeping the water out. So I'm happy with that, and so we'll go ahead and put this thing back together. I usually just use this Loctite flange sealant. Maybe you guys know something better, but it seems to work all right. Stays a little bit tacky. Get my bolts ready to go. See if we can slide this back up. So we got the shift rod coming up through the little hole here. So we can get these nuts back on without dropping them. Starting over again. And then our parts for the drive shaft. There's another little seal that probably should be changed if you're planning to do this, use this full time. But I'm not, so I'll put this power head back in place. Like so. Get all our screws back in the bottom of the power head. See if we can get this started with my pliers. How about with this? There. Get our prop back on now. Pin. Cotter pin. And the cap. Tighten up these bolts. Well, even though we didn't replace any parts, we just put the same impeller back in and same seals on the bottom of the power head. I feel confident that everything's in good shape. It should be good for the kind of use I want to use it for, just to take it out on a little run once in a while or start it up in the tank just to make sure it still works. But it's mostly just a kind of a keepsake old display motor. Put some fresh oil in the gearbox and we will see you out on the water with it one of these days. Thanks a lot for watching and we'll see you next time.